Hello, it's Charmaine, registered and licensed dietitian. Visit Nutrisess.com for a list of my services. But today I wanted to go ahead and make the quickest, yummy, delicious meal that you can make for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that is actually an egg sauce. My friend was the sweetheart that showed me how to make this in college. I've had it before, when I was a kid, but it wasn't a big staple in our house. We were more egg and oatmeal people in the morning. So an egg sauce was definitely a treat, and I have not stopped making it since then. This is pretty much the exact same way that she showed me. She likes to slice her veggies super thin. I can slice mine chunky. It doesn't make a difference. But let's go ahead and get started. While I'm cooking today, I will give you just a little story just so you can get to know me a little more, okay? I want to tell you my birth stories. I think it's important for women to share their birth stories because I think it helps decrease anxiety. Ooh, we got a little imperfection in that tomato. I think it helps to decrease anxiety in women who are going to give birth. There's something that happens in women right before they give birth. There is a normal level of anxiety, I believe. And it's something that I think if only we could just have a little more support and hear more stories, then I think we would be able to get through the process easier. For me, I've been blessed with not one, not two, not three, but 4 beautiful babies. And I can't even talk about them without talking about God's favor and God's blessings. Just thinking about how there's been so many women who have had major complications after birth, during their pregnancies, or even to just conceive the child. It floors me. It really floors me that I've been able to have this process 4 times with very little complications. I am grateful, I am grateful, I am grateful. So, baby number 1. I conceived my first child in Nigeria after 6 months of being married. My feelings were excitement and happiness. A little bit of, oh my goodness, but definitely happy. Unfortunately, it was a bittersweet month because that same month, my grandmother died. She was the matriarch of my paternal side. God rest her soul. So after conceiving Sophia, we moved to Texas. I worked 2 jobs and ran my business, moonlighting my business. And I was very active. That pregnancy, wow. I was stretching, walking, really active. I was working about 75 hours a week. So on the last day that I was, quote unquote, due to deliver, that was my last day of work. I decided to work all the way up to the point because I wanted to get all of my maternity leave time, which was 3 months. So I ran around, they call it nesting, the whole hospital with my roller skates on almost. Back then I was a clinical nutrition manager of a long-term acute care and a inpatient side for the nutrition services department. And basically it was 2 hospitals in 1 facility. It was pretty cool. But it was in the museum district, very close to my house, maybe 5-minute, 7-minute drive. And then I would rush over to Humble, Texas, and work in an outpatient cancer center. And then, of course, juggle scheduling my own Nutrisess clients. So that last day of work, I had to make sure everything was organized, cross all my T's, dot all my I's, make sure that whoever was going to take over after me would have a good time. And sure enough, we thank God they did just fine. So I went home at about 9 p.m. that night. We got dinner going, ate dinner, and I'm thinking, ooh, thank God. I've heard so many stories about how people go up to 41 weeks. I am going to have the best next 2 days to just have a spa time, petty and manny. I can sleep and get a little rest before I go into labor. Well, that's not what happened. So I went to the restroom to pee. And normally when I go urinate, I get off the toilet in 10 seconds. And for some reason, I kept peeing after 10 seconds. And I'm like, okay, this is strange. And mind you, this is my first baby, so I had no clue what it felt like to break your waters. I jumped off the toilet thinking I should be done. Because it was like 15, 20 seconds by then. And the water kept coming down my leg and, across the room. And I said, ooh, I ran right back to the toilet. And soon after that, I realized my water was breaking because I was still there for a whole minute. I just laughed hysterically. It was like, oh my God. It was almost like she was sending me a message that I'm coming, Mom. And boy, I was laughing. And my husband's like, what is going on with my wife? She just finished working like 16 hours. She's there laughing after dinner. What is this? What is wrong? Are you okay? I said, my water broke. And I just laughed. And he said, oh my God. And mind you, anyone that knows my husband, they know he's very calm, cool, and collected at all times. Like the king of cool. He's like, oh my goodness. You got to get to the hospital. Let's go. Let's go. Oh my goodness. Exposed membranes. Don't you know? This is very dangerous. This is your first baby. Wait, Mayday, Mayday. And I was just looking at him and I was just happy. And he's just like, Kim, you cannot do this. You cannot take forever to get ready. Don't you know that we need to rush to the hospital? And I just kept looking at him and just grinning. So I said, I need to take a shower, babe. I mean, I've been up and going all day. So I went ahead and took a shower, even though he was rushing me the whole time. And I said, okay, I'll take a quick 5-minute shower. Just a quick one. Then I came out, waddling out. And I was like, let me just close the door and see if I can sneak some makeup on. But right when I reached into the makeup bag, here he comes. Kim, no, let's go, let's go. So no makeup for mommy. No cutie, yummy mommy. So I waddled across the room. We grabbed our bag that we prepared and we were out the door around 10:30 p.m. By the time we got to the hospital, settled our paperwork, we were admitted after midnight. No pain. Very little pain at this point. So then I went ahead and got into my hospital bed and I started feeling more and more pain. But then with time, I was like, this is not bad. I'm having pain every 12 minutes. Not too shabby. But then they checked me and I'm thinking, oh, am I like 5 centimeters now? They said, no, ma'am, you're only 1 centimeter. And I was like that for about 3 hours. So by then the nurses were getting antsy. And they were like, baby, we have faster ways to do this and we're going to start. I didn't know what I was doing. This is my first baby. So I just went ahead and just relaxed. I was in a relaxed state that whole time. I took another nap. And then when it was time for the Pitocin, I didn't realize that this is something that will speed up the process. But they gave it to me. And I kid you not, moments later, I felt like I was climbing up a wall. It was an excruciating experience. I was not prepared. I thought it would be a slow progress, but all of a sudden, I was about 4 centimeters dilated after that, and I was contracting probably every 4 minutes. And the pain intensity skyrocketed. So yes, after that, I wanted my epidural. I went into the hospital room saying no epidural, and by that point, I wanted my epidural. So I was able to get the epidural. You have to stay very still, and just the process of getting the epidural sometimes makes you not even want that. But I was able to sit still enough through my contractions to get the needle in my spine. So finally, they said, you're going to be relaxed, you're going to take a nap, and trust that baby's going to come fast. And sure enough, they were correct. I took a nap, woke up, and it was already time to push. Uneventful pregnancy, uneventful labor, and then finally I was able to deliver my beautiful baby girl after just 25 minutes of pushing, 30 minutes of pushing at 10:31 a.m. Praise be to God. She is literally the best thing that's ever happened to me. I am speechless just even thinking about all of the things that have changed. All of the sacrifices, all of the love that I've been able to show her. It's just a speechless, there's no way to really describe it. So, after that, my second baby was born 3.5 years after my first baby. I had some issues between baby 1 and baby 2, which I will talk to you about in another video. But let's just say I was being pressured to get on IVF. And this is someone who has not 1, but 4 babies. So, anyway, after 3.5 years, I found myself in another hospital in Texas. The hospital didn't do that great of a job. I was induced because of a condition called preeclampsia. So unfortunately, I was diagnosed with preeclampsia after some protein in my urine, and that was really the only indicator. I went ahead and was induced, and one induction would be when they give Pitocin to speed up the birthing process, to get the birthing process started and speed up your contractions. So we went through that process, and I was able to push my baby in about 5 to 7 minutes. Very easy. Vaginal deliveries. Thanks be to God. The preeclampsia didn't rear its ugly head for me though until about 1 week after being at home. With that baby, I had help. Thank God my mom and my husband helped me with all of the babies, but of all the babies, I think I probably had the least help with the second baby. So 1 week postpartum, I had a blood pressure of 160 over 105. I was so scared. I had the most severe headache that prompted me to check my blood pressure, and I just could barely move. It was a very scary time. I called the doctor. They prescribed me 2 hypertension agents, which eventually got downgraded to just 1 agent and then none. So, my baby boy Sebastian, he's blessed. He fed like a champ. We thank God that he's okay. So, third baby. I was able to conceive this wonderful, beautiful boy while I was nursing my second baby. So it was a very bumpy time. It was definitely a surprise baby, even though yes, the plan was to have 3 babies, but boy, we were definitely surprised when he came. So I was able to give birth to him to a whole nother hospital. Yes, all my children were born in all different hospitals. This was probably one of the most relaxed I was with all of the babies, because in my mind, no epidural and no Pitocin. So I kind of, my doctor and I kind of went back and forth, because I said, look, every time y'all give me Pitocin, I'm running to the epidural. Can we do everything we can not to get the Pitocin? But then my doctor, like, look, honey, you may end up with preeclampsia, and I cannot be liable. So I said, okay. So I ducked and hid from that doctor, but she sure found me. She called me on a Sunday with an unknown number to threaten me and say, look, if you're not in that hospital this Friday for your induction, I'm coming to your house to get you. She was not playing around with me. So I said, okay. I showed up, but boy, did I do everything I could to induce my labor that whole week. I got a foot massage. I tried to get even a little bit of body massaging. I went for walks. I had relations with my husband. There were several things I tried to do to induce my labor, but to no avail. Finally, the day came, and I was induced. But I made sure I was in control of my induction. Oh, so I thought. I let the nurse know that if she doesn't give me the lowest dose, I'm going to leave. And she sure did. And boy, it was helpful. But I went 17 hours, no epidural. And it was uncomfortable, exhausting experience. So when I finally screamed for my epidural after 17 hours of labor, when it was time to push, I had zero energy. No energy. So, ladies, if you are deciding on an epidural, this is something to consider. If it's on the table and you all are just kind of considering getting that epidural, then 17 hours of labor, it's rough, because you will be tired when it's time to push that baby. There's a reason why they call it labor. You are doing actual physical work. And it's almost like you're an Olympian, because the energy and the calories burned and the metabolism that it takes for you to give birth, it's unreal. More than you could imagine. So long story short, the baby was born shortly after the epidural, and probably about 40 minutes of pushing, not bad. Vaginal delivery again, thank God. Preeclampsia a few weeks after I gave birth. Got on nifedipine, controlled the pressure, got off the nifedipine. Then we were given an opportunity of a lifetime, 2 opportunities of lifetimes. My husband was able to get into his residency program, and I was able to climb the ladder in the company that I was working for at the time. I was given the title Post-Acute Therapy Manager, and it was an alternative dietitian career, which was pretty much one of those dream kind of careers, making excellent money as a dietitian. So what I went ahead and did was I worked as a regional manager, and I was able to have the pleasure of giving presentations and really affecting change on a wider scale than I was used to. So in the middle of all that, we had our 3 beautiful children. We got our first nanny. Life was good. I loved our nanny. My husband and I were happy in our careers. We relocated from Texas to Tennessee, and we were doing our very best to enjoy the fruits of our labor. And then boom, we get pregnant with our fourth child. Remember, the third child was already a surprise. We wanted the third child, but later. We had our third child at 36 years old. I was 36. So, yeah. We went from, oh my God, are we going to need IVF? To, whoa, we're pregnant with our fourth child. So, here I am. Pretty upset. Remember, my first two kids, full of joy. Second kid was, oh my goodness, but pretty happy. The fourth kid, though, I won't lie to you. It took me at least 15, 18 weeks to really come to terms with the fact that I was actually having a baby. So long story short, I went ahead and came to terms with it off from this dream job right before COVID. My child was due 2 weeks after the whole world shut down due to the pandemic.